Skyler Canada is not wearing the Canada sweatshirt.
All right, so game is underway. Skyler's going to lead out on a Temple of Mystery, and he'll scry to the bottom. Now, you were saying before, green-red monsters has difficulty with the black decks, but it's actually pretty good against the control decks, right?
I think it's okay against control decks. I mean, it plays a lot of problematic cards like Domri and Xenagos the Reveler, the Planeswalkers. So it can kind of get these board states where it has creatures and Planeswalkers in play. And now with Xenagos God of Revels, it can get this board state where Supreme Verdict does nothing against it. So there are definitely board states that can be very good for Kent. But it basically depends on whether or not he's able to get Domri into play and get some usefulness out of it.
Yeah, well, Kent has one of those great starts from green-red monsters. He has a turn 1 Elvish Mystic into a turn 2 Domri Rod. Not to be outdone by the Monoromp, Skyler did make a turn 2 Sylvan Caryatid, though we'll see if he can keep pace with this start that Kent has.
Yeah, so wow, not only does he get turn 2 Domri, but he cast it with a Mutavault in play too. So he's able to go.
Just all the pieces.
He's got everything he needs there against a control deck. So, but Skyler, it looks like Skyler did miss his land drop.
I think he bricked his land. He had a turn 3 Planeswalker of his own. He had a Jace at the ready, but no land to cast it, and he's just going to pass back.
He does have double dissolve, it looks like, so he's going to be able to counter some of Kent's cards and scry some of the land to the top of his deck.
Yeah, but Domri's going to be the problem. You know, once that card makes an emblem, it's very difficult for any control deck to win.
Definitely, and Domri now missed twice, so Kent's not getting too much value out of it just yet. But
yeah. All right, well, Kent tries to accelerate into a second Planeswalker as Chandra. Skyler could not dissolve faster. Scries what I can only imagine is a non-land card to the bottom. We'll see if he can hit that Jace. He still has another shot at it. And it is a breeding pool. I'm going to guess he's going to shock for Jace here.
Yeah, don't really see. He does have, it looks like he has a Supreme Verdict in his hand as well, but no reason to cast it and killing your own character. Like you said, one of those awkward spots.
Sure.
But
Sylvan Character doing its best to do a Rampant Growth impersonation, and for the most part does it, except for those few board states when you have to cast Supreme Verdict.
Yeah. And unfortunately, because of the Mutavault's in play, Skyler can't really draw cards just yet. He's got to uptick it to kind of play around Mutavault. So Kent still has that Domri raid going, so let's see if he can get... Oh, now he's going to scry, so he's going to keep it on top.
I bet we're going to see a creature flipped here since he kept it on top. And it is. It's Gorklan Rampager.
So Gorklan hits pretty hard. He's got one in his hand as well. Oh, he's got a Xenagos Reveler. So this is the kind of board state we were talking about where he can just get a multiple Planeswalkers in play. And because Skyler doesn't have cards like Planar Cleansing or the new Fated Revelation in his main deck, then it's really going to be difficult for him to kind of deal with this heavy Planeswalker draw.
Yes, we see Xenagos the Reveler makes a Satyr token. Skyler, as we know, does not actually have a Detention Sphere. He's going to have to find now not one, but 2 Detention Spheres to take care of Kent's board. And green-red really just, it does this great job of punishing the control deck once it gets ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing about green-red monsters and the matchup against control. I was watching Brad play this deck a lot at Pro Tour Dublin, and one round he was playing against a blue-white control deck, and he just had so many diverse threats in play. He had 2 different Planeswalkers. He also had a Hammer, Perforos at one point, and a bunch of creatures. So it can attack you from so many different angles as a control player that it can put you in a couple of awkward spots. So we see that here as a perfect example. If he's got two Planeswalkers going, and Skyler doesn't have an answer to either one of them just yet.
All right, well, that Satyr token went at Skyler, put him down to 15. Jace is going to -2, searching for an answer. It finds 2 lands and a Sphinx's Revelation. So Revelation, one of the better cards for banned, but I'm not positive Skyler has the time to cast it right now.
Yeah, so good split here from Kent, kind of smelling that Skyler needs mana, so he gives him Sphinx Revelation or lands here. Skyler does go for the lands, and now he's got a Supreme Verdict, which he can cast, but, you know, again, with Domri and Xenagos in play, you're not really doing that much.
Well, especially when your own Caryatid's in play, it becomes even more dicey to cast
exactly.
Supreme Verdict.
But do you have to cast it here? I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, he's just going to pass it. He's still going to have to dissolve mana up.
I suppose at least this way, Kent has to expend cards in dealing with... Well, yeah, he can protect the Jace. I guess, yeah, verdicting there is actually just negative for Skyler.
Yeah, so pretty big draw there for Kent. He drew a Xenagos, God of Revels. So let's see if he tries, he's going to cast it this turn, or if he wants to just...
So this implies that Xenagos went from being a Planeswalker into being a god. I'm not sure which one's more powerful.
Yeah.
On this board state, I think it's the god.
A god has to be the most powerful thing in Magic. I refuse to believe that it's not. It's a god. I mean.
So you're saying a god could take out Nicol Bolas? I don't know. Nick, he's powerful. It's we say
maybe not that god.
All right. Well, either way, this god can get dissolved. Skyler's going to counter it. He immediately scries to the bottom, and Domri now up to 7. This is crunch time.
So yeah, Sylvan Caryatid can block one of the Xenagos tokens, but it's gonna, the Jace will die here, and so Kent still has double Planeswalkers, and Domri is gonna go ultimate next turn possibly.
Skyler did not draw the Attention Sphere. He drew a Sphinx's Revelation, and let me tell you, being on the control side of things, that emblem is basically reads win the game. I have won through that emblem not many times.
We'll bring up Domri Raid for you, but basically the emblem says all your creatures for the rest of the game have double strike, trample, hexproof, and haste.
They're all really hard to deal with.
Yes, so when you have a Planeswalker in play that can crank out 2/2s.
Now they're 4/4s. Now they deal 4.
And it looks like he has another Domri in his hand as well. So
sure. Yeah, all right.
So Gorkline Rampager can come down here. And if he makes a Xenagos token, he can actually attack for 14.
For 12. 12, right?
8, 12, and then he has the Mutavault too. So I don't know. He doesn't have
16.
mana.
No, he just makes a Satyr, blood rushes, and swings with Mutavault. That's 16.
That's right.
That's lethal. See, that's on the internet. The emblem's really hard to beat. They just usually make the emblem. They say, "Oh, I have you for lethal."
So yeah, if Kent sees it, so he's gonna make the emblem, make it 2/2. Skyler's just has 1 mana up, so he doesn't really have to fear anything. Plus, his creature has hexproof anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
All right, it's got the emblem. Check. It's gonna.
Oh no, it looks like he's not.
Oh, he could just isn't cast Pelucranos. Sure. All right, well that's 10 damage. That's
only 14 though.
Well,
so.
oh, this is only 14. This isn't the kill. He could have had a kill here. He's probably not going to come back to get him at all. In fact, Skyler will just scoop to that. So that'll do.
That'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
All right, game 1 in Kent's favor.
So Skyler kind of got trounced there by exactly what we talked about before the game. Multiple Planeswalkers, it's very difficult for a deck like Skyler's to deal with, which is kind of why I really love Fated Retribution in the board out of blue-white decks, because against green-red monsters, it's one of the few ways you can kind of wipe off their whole board. You know, we talked about planar cleansing versus Fated Retribution. You know, not being able to destroy your own detention spheres is one of the reasons why Fated Retribution is just better, other than just the fact that it's an instant speed spell too as well. So unfortunately, though, it doesn't look like Skyler. Oh, Skyler does have 1 copy of Fated Retribution in his sideboard, so that is something they can bring in.
Well, if there's any matchup he plays it in, I have to imagine it's this one. He has a couple other tools at his disposal. He has negates for Planeswalkers. He could have Revoke Existence for gods if he felt so inclined, though I'm not sure that's great. Those are the only targets for it in this matchup. I do like the negates, though, in the Fated Retribution. I imagine we'll see those.
Yeah, at a Kent's sideboard, I mean, he's got 2 Unravel the Aethers, which, again, it's a new Born of the God card. It allows you to effectively, it's a naturalize, but it exiles the artifact or enchantment. So it makes you shuffle it back into your library. So it's a way to deal with gods. It's a way to deal with Detention Sphere. So I kind of like bringing in Unravel just because Detention Sphere is one of the few cards that he knows Skyler will have for his Planeswalkers. So I could see Unravel coming in there. He also has 2 copies of Plummet. Plummet's interesting. Plummet could be one of those cards that you want to bring it in because maybe he has the transformational sideboard of Archangel of Thrune. You're not really sure. So Plummet, it's one of those options for him. I'm not sure he's going to bring it in this particular matchup, though, just because it's banned. So I think he's going to keep it in the sideboard for now. He has 2 copies of Arbor Colossus. Again, not really sure you want to bring it in this matchup. It is mostly against flyers. And again, Archangel of Thrune is something you have to be cognizant of.
Yeah, it's typically for Desecration Demon, though. It's the kind of card you want to answer with it. But the last 6 slots on his board, I'm very excited about.
Yeah, Mistcutter Hydras as a 4 of, and 2 Rorick Thars.
Those are excellent against control decks.
Yeah, especially Rorick Thar, because it's one of those big, beefy threats that can win the game on its own, and it's a great follow-up to Supreme Verdict. So they Supreme Verdict you, then you play Rorick Thar, And then all of a sudden, what are they going to do about it? They're likely, if any answer they have to it is usually going to make him pay 6 life to do it. So Rurik Thar, a great option, as well as Mistcutter Hydra. I mean, they can't counter it, and as Pro Blue, so it dodges Azorius Charm, dodges the Tension Sphere. It's another one of those cards that really, one of the only ways to deal with it is Elspeth or Supreme Verdict. So definitely like Mistcutter and Rurik Thars, puts a lot of pressure on Skyler and forces him to sort of play this weird game where all your threats are just so powerful. You know, your planeswalkers are powerful, and now your creatures are powerful, and you have so many great follow-ups to Supreme Verdict. So Kent has a very, very effective sideboard strategy against mono blue-white control. So we'll see if it pays off for him in the games 2 and 3.
Yeah, well, Kent's going to be on 6 cards this game. Skyler's kept to 7, but Kent is on the mulligan. Remember, Skyler's on the play with the Bantek. There's a little bit of, so let's talk about last game, how much, there's that Sylvan Caryatid Supreme Verdict interaction there. That's one that doesn't mean you can't play Caryatid in your deck. It does mean that occasionally you'll get awkward situations. It seems like against the red-green deck, that's going to come up to get him more often than he would like.
Yeah, obviously against blue-white control, I think you're fine with it because you're probably not going to be casting Supreme Verdict very much in that matchup. So I think there's certain matchups where it's not really that relevant, and being able to ramp to a card like Jace or Kiora, or even be able to get to an Elspeth a little faster, can be huge. So I think it's certainly interesting. Although it's one of those cards that I think if you're going to play Bant, maybe you just go for the creature version. Like maybe you just play Sylvan Caryatid and Prime Speaker, and you just play more creatures like Loxodon Smiter, and take advantage of the creatures that way, as opposed to playing Supreme Verdict game 1 at least.
All right, well, a pair of temples for both players start off this game. No plays as of yet. Remember that Kent is on the 6-card hand. You see Mistcutter Hydra, among others, in his hand.
Yeah, it looks like he has a Mutavault and Mistcutter Hydra. It looks like he does still have those Mizzium Mortars in his hand. Again, maybe afraid of Archangel Thune.
Archangel Thune, or, the Cat 3/4 also, the Cat King.
Yeah, so we have seen a lot of blue-white decks board into that Cat. So Kent just has an Elvish Mystic here. Skyler's okay with letting that resolve, and he's going to play a Temple of Mystery on his turn and keep the card on top of his library. So here, if Kent has another land, he can make a 4/4 Mistcutter Hydra, but he doesn't have a land, but he's still going to cast that Mistcutter.
He has to go for 3, so that'll hit Skyler with no response. That'll hit him down to 15. And his deck's a little hard-pressed on ways to answer Mistcutter Hydra, it's because it's only, well, there's one of them. It's only a 3/3.
Almost on cue, as you say it. Skyler draws a Supreme Verdict, which is huge here because not only will it kill with the Mistcutter Hydra, but it also is going to deal with the Elvish Mystic, which is great because Kent stalled on land that turn. So
just clearing up, it looks like he tapped land for mana, but he's tapping it not for mana. Breeding Pool to play tapped, and yes, he does cast Supreme Verdict to sweep up the board.
Yeah, so Xenagos God of Revels would have been a great follow-up here. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have any mana to work with, so he's just forced to settle with attacking with the Mutavault there.
Yeah, and he's going to need mana quickly because as soon as
Skyler's
going to start pulling ahead, and you see that with his draw of Kiora, the Crashing Wave.
Great draw there. Now he can lock down that Mutavault, and effectively he's got a 3-turn clock here. He just needs 3 more turns.
And that's really what's been impressive about Kiora is how much pressure it puts on them to deal with it before it makes an emblem.
Yeah, and against like a good deck like Green Red Monsters, this is where I thought Kiora could be actually pretty effective because they don't really swarm you. They kind of attack you with one giant threat. So being able to lock down one card can be pretty huge. And we're seeing that here. Kent really doesn't have a good answer to that card.
Yep, Kiora moves up to 4, 2 turns away from making an emblem, and you see a Dissolve in Skyler's hand. His plan seems to revolve around making this emblem.
Yeah, so looks like Skyler's likely going to be making Krakens relatively soon.
Yeah, 4th land for Kent, so now he does get a chance to play. He's going to go with Gore Clan Rampager, and that resolves. That's not a good sign for Kent.
Yeah, Skyler can Kiora the Gore Clan Rampager, and he can block the Mutavault with Sylvan Caryatid.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and go one step farther than that. He's in a Detention Sphere, the Gore Clan. Kiora the Mutavault past the turn, and with Dissolve in hand, it looks like Kiora is going to be going ultimate.
So it looks like Palakranos could be coming down here. Is he going to get met by a Dissolve? I think so, yes. And there goes the Palakranos. And now Skyler's going to be able to ultimate Kiora on his turn with facing an empty board from Kent. So
Yeah, his remaining cards involve a Sphinx's Revelation. This is going to be a difficult game for Kent to win.
So pretty impressive board state for Skyler this game. Complete polar opposite of what we saw in game one, where Kent was just totally dominating with all his planeswalkers. Here, Skyler's one planeswalker is just going to be dominating this match. He does have a Jace as well, but almost unnecessary at this point with the Sphinx of Revelation. So looks like he's just going to end the turn and get a Kraken token. He signaled it, so he is going to be getting it. We're just waiting for the judge to supply it.
All right, 5th land for Kent. He's got some monsters, but none of them are really monstrous enough to deal with that. Deal with a 9/9.
So Skyler's going to drop down to 9 from the hit. Skyler does have a Sphinx of Revelation, so he can gain 4 life. Effectively negating
5
the
because
attack.
he has the Caryatid.
Oh, the Carrot too, yeah. So he can gain 5 life here. So he's actually can go up to 14 at the end of this turn.
Exactly. Yep, and we are waiting on our Kraken token right here.
So interesting, Kent still has that Xenagos in his hand, so if maybe Skyler has a couple of bad Sphinx Revelations, he could maybe pull out
sneak
the
one.
win
Yeah,
here.
Xenagos, have its trigger target Storm Breath. He's not going to have many turns to do it, though. That
Yeah, whenever
9/9 hits really hard.
Whenever your plan is, I hope my opponent bricks on 2 of his Revelations, you know you're in trouble.
Well, the problem is even when you brick on them, they still gain life.
And he's still getting 9/9s each turn.
Right.
Yeah, so Skyler is in pretty good shape right here. Looks like, I think are we still waiting for the Kraken token? I'm not sure what we're waiting on here. Yeah, so it looks like Skyler is just waiting for Kent to be done with his turn. Likely going to see a Sphinx of Revelation for 5 here.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like we get the Revelation down. All right, there we go.
All right, there we go. So we
Kent
got
Ketter with the improvised solution.
Not sure it's big enough of a token for a 9/9. It might.
No, I have 9/9s would be
might
bigger
as well
than
just
that.
use the whole sheet of paper. You didn't have to rip it in half. Put a whole notebook out there.
All right, so Skyler up to 14 there. And he'll swing with the huge 9/9. That'll put Kent down to 9. Convenient number. Means both his attackers next turn will be lethal.
So he has multiple removal spells, but all of them have white mana symbols in them, so he can't actually target the Stormbreath Dragon. He could play a Jace and uptick it.
Or you could just take. You could just take it.
Could just take it. Just cast more, another Sphinx of Revelation and gain more life.
I think that looks like what he's going to choose to do. Skyler makes another Kraken. Now there's 2 9/9s. Not 2 counters on your 9/9. There's 2 of them.
So Kent drew a Mistcutter Hydra for the turn. Unfortunately,
Skyler's still
not
at
really going to
14.
do enough here. Skyler's
And and one of the Krakens is untapped.
yeah.
So there we go. All right, that's the untapped one.
So he can block. He can block a Kraken.
Go ahead, Revelation for 5 more. That'll put him up to 19. Kent is staying alive this turn, but I'm not really sure what his out is. What's his exit strategy? No, he doesn't know either. So that'll go to Skyler.
So pretty dominant board position there for Skyler. It's the second feature match where we've seen Kiora generate Krakens. So it's definitely doable. I gotta say, so far I've been impressed with Kiora more than I have been kind of not really impressed by it. I think it's, for the most part, all the games where I've seen it in play, I think it's been pretty good. We saw it with BBD, now we see it with Skyler. Kent getting psyched up now, apparently.
Yeah, so Kiora seems like the real deal right now. It's been powerful.
I think in the right deck, I think if you can build your deck around it, I think it's, and in the right matchup, obviously. We haven't really seen too many hyper-aggressive decks. Obviously, against a deck like Brad Nelson's deck, his red-white burn deck, Kiora is probably a stinker. You're probably not even going to want it. But obviously, in a matchup where they're not as swarming you, I think it's really shines. And if you can if you could also like throw out some chump blockers and have like removal spells like Azorius Charm. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bant decks kind of shoot to the forefront now because of Kiora.
Well, what's I think is interesting about it is when I first read the card, I expected its minus ability to be its go-to ability. Any Planeswalker that draws a card every turn is really valuable. But we have seen Kiora be used mostly as a 3+ ultimate Planeswalker.
And that's what I thought when I saw it. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I think there's more situations where I just keep upticking it than I would ramp. You know what I mean? I just think that it's deceptive, but it's actually pretty easy to go ultimate with this card, I think. If they're not playing burn, I think the +1 ability is a lot better than people gave it credit for.
Yeah, she's very good at protecting herself, which is probably why she starts with so few loyalty. 2 is a really low number.
Yeah. That being said, if you're facing down a Soldier or the Pantheon, that's a whole different story. I mean, we haven't seen Kiora battle any Soldier of the Pantheon deck, so
I just can't battle it.
it's kind of difficult. So, again, it's one of those cards that so far today in this particular metagame, I think it's interesting, and I definitely think it's powerful. But whether or not we're going to keep seeing it do well in different types of metagames as the metagames shift and evolve, I'm not so sure. Because, again, I definitely thought we'd be seeing a lot more white weenie rush decks because of Brimaz, which we just haven't. We really haven't. We've seen Brimaz out of the sideboard of control decks.
It's been a control card and a mid-range card.
Yeah, we have not seen those kind of weenie rush decks like Boros or white-black or even mono-white. So.
Yeah, those are really not. We have not seen many aggro decks today. I would say that's one of the things you really have hit on. We've seen some devotion decks and some control decks and some mid-range.
Yeah, I think the Black-Red God kind of made people think that maybe that would make a splash, but we haven't really seen any aggressive decks.
We are underway for Game 3. Kent Ketter on the play with the Elvish Mystic, a Temple of Enlightenment for Skyler, and we will actually get to see our first look at Courser of Krufix. It is a 2/4 for 3. Kent plays it, does not get to ramp right away. He reveals the Domri.
No land. This card stinks.
Oh, it is a 2/4 for 3 at the moment. Skyler did shock for that second land. That certainly is telling of something, and as we can see, it's telling of a negate that he has at the ready for Domri Rod.
So it looks like, which is unfortunate because if Kent was able to resolve a Domri here, Domri and Courser, this is the combination of cards that people have been talking about for weeks. Being able to play at the top card of your library if it's a land.
Draw it if it's not.
Just works so well with Domri, because like your deck is basically almost all creatures and land. You have very few spells in this particular deck. So.
And Kent, it looks like he's going to go ahead and play around. Looks like he's going to play around negate. He's not going. He's going to shock.
Oh, so he thought he might have the syncopate.
Okay,
so
he's
that's
playing
why
on
he played
syncopate, not negate.
So Skyler looks like he has a Supreme Verdict. He also has that Sylvan Carrot that we were talking about.
So he can't make Carrot. He's going to, play the Breeding Pool tapped. Oh, he plays that in such a way that you almost feel like it's the second time he's done it.
Skyler's sequencing with the lands are always strange. You always think, wait a second, what's going on here? Is he playing it and then casting it? Or?
All right, well, here we're going to get to see Courser get an extra card. Temple of Abandon is the top card.
Unfortunately, the land's coming into play tap, so he can't play the Xenagos this turn. Xenagos would have been huge if he was able to cast it because he could have pumped up the Courser and it could have attacked through the Sylvan Carrot, but unfortunately he can't do it this turn. He does have a Rampager, so if Skyler decides to block.
Kent actually gets I think he may have forgotten, he gets a Scry 1 here, so he flipped that Gore Clan. He actually could have chosen to put Gore Clan on the bottom if he chose.
Yeah, I think he wants it. I think he just wants to keep that card there.
Sure. He's going to discard a Gore Clan to trample through that Sylvan Caryatid that was trying to block Courser, and that will put Skyler down to 12. It makes this turn easy for Skyler.
Yeah, but the good thing for Skyler, though, is, oh, wow, he doesn't have a Supreme, maybe he doesn't have a Supreme Verdict.
He must not. Gore Clan drawn by Ketter. Next card, another Gore Clan. That's the third one.
Yeah, so I would be surprised if Xenagos doesn't, I think Xenagos should just come down here.
He should try for it.
I mean.
He also has Stormbreath Dragon, so he has a lot of 5-drop outs available.
Yeah, knowing that he doesn't have another land on top of his library, I think he has to kind of be a little aggressive here.
He's going to just swing with Courser.
Why would you cast Xenagos post-combat, though?
I think he's expecting it to get countered.
Okay, so Xenagos does get countered, and now Skyler is going to be able to scry a little bit, see if he wants to keep the card. Looks like he's Yeah, it looks like he does have the Supreme Verdict, so he was basically just holding up mana so he doesn't lose to Stormbreath Dragon. And now it's perfect for him because he knows the top card of Kent's library isn't a land, and since he didn't play a land this turn, he won't get surprised by Stormbreath.
He can't get Stormbreath. All right, so Supreme Verdict takes care of those. As we know, Gorkon Rampager drawn from Kent, and that will likely be, well, he has Pelukronos, who's probably going to play that. Sand now has two Gore Clans and a Stormbreath.
Yeah, I like Pelukronos there because if you play a land, you could actually monstrous it and kill him next turn because Skyler's at 10. So definitely a lead with the Pelukronos. Plus you have double Rampage.
Yeah, you can monster for 1 and discard and Blood Rush the Rampager.
Yeah. So still, Kent's in good shape because Skyler wasn't able to draw land here. So if he's going to deal with the Pelukronos, he's going to have to either tap out for Detention Sphere here, or at least tap 3 Detention Sphere, or just leave Azorius mana up, which is probably something he wanted to cycle to kind of dig for more land. But
yeah, well, Azorius Charm is an excellent weapon against cards like Pelukronos, but you're absolutely right. Him being stuck on land is pretty detrimental for him. As we see, yeah, Kent hits land number 5 and is off to the races with his Stormbreath Dragon. And now Skyler is going to be forced to verdict it.
Yeah, so Skyler's at 6, but Kent still has plenty of outs here.
Well, and Skyler still has no mana sources, so we see Gorklan Rampager replacing the dragon.
And he still has that Azorius Charm here.
Sylvan Caryatid for Skyler, and now he's going to have Azorius Charm up. He's trying to get a foothold into more mana sources. This might be one of his chances to do so.
Uh-oh.
And it's 6 mana.
Oh, no.
It's Rurikthar. Well, Skyler's at 6, so that is problematic for him.
That is...
all right. So
good old Rurikthar, you know. We talked about it.
It's great when your opponent's at 6. It's a real good play.
When your opponent's at 6 and you're following up a Supreme Verdict, there's nothing better than Rurikthar.
So in 3 games, Kent Ketter takes down Skyler Canada. Kent moves to 7-0. That'll be 1 win away from another top 8 finish for him. Skyler's at 5-1-1 on the outside, but still with a shot.